The desert was quiet that evening, the kind of quiet that felt older than memory. The sky sagged low with bruised purple light, and a thin wind drifted over the juniper trees, carrying the soft scent of dust and iron. Sam Redhawk walked the ridge alone, firewood strapped to his back, letting the hush settle around him like a blanket he'd worn for years. Solitude wasn't punishment for Sam. It was the only thing that never asked anything of him. The only thing that didn't remind him of what he'd buried. He paused at the edge of the slope. Something tugged at him, an old instinct, the kind that whispers before danger or heartbreak. He let the breeze brush his cheek, listening the way his mother taught him as a child. Wind remembers, she used to say, even when people choose to forget. He started down the narrow trail toward his cabin, boots crunching softly over dry earth. But halfway down, he stopped so suddenly, the firewood nearly slid off his shoulder. Below, in the shallow wash, lay a misshapen lump. At first glance it looked like a dead calf or a coyote-torn carcass. But there was something wrong about the shapes, something too human about the way it slumped. A prickle crawled up Sam's spine. He knelt low, narrowing his eyes. The setting sun caught on something rough and brown, a burlap sack, thick and crudely tied with rope. And it moved. Sam froze, not with fear, but with a deep, cold knowing. He slipped down the slope, each step slow, silent. His fingers brushed the strap of his rifle, not lifting it, just reminding himself it was there. The wind died. The whole desert seemed to hold its breath. Sam reached the sack and listened. A faint noise so small he wasn't sure it was real leaked from inside. A thin, broken sound caught between a moan and a breath. His stomach twisted. He loosened the rope with careful fingers. The smell hit him first: blood, sweat, old fear. Then he pulled the burlap back. A woman lay crumpled inside. Her dress was torn in jagged rips. Dark bruises marred her arms and ribs. Dried blood cracked against her mouth. One eye was swollen shut completely, a dark blossom of violence. She was conscious only in flickers. Her fingers twitched, her breath rasped. Sam's hands shook. Not from horror, from recognition. He knew that face, or almost did. Claire. No, not Claire. His vision blurred for a heartbeat. Grief surging like a fist to the chest. He closed his eyes, forcing truth to settle like dust. Claire had been dead for 6 years. Buried under a cottonwood tree he still couldn't bring himself to visit. He had dug the grave until his palms bled, until the sky blurred, until there was nothing left inside him but silence. But this woman, she shared Claire's high cheekbones, her jaw, her fragile, fierce beauty. Except her features were sharper, weathered, tempered, a different fire, a different life, a different soul. Sam swallowed hard, and then the memory arrived soft and warm, like a hand on his shoulder. She's tougher than me, Claire had once said with a smile. My twin, Emma Harrow. And here she was, stuffed into a sack and left to die in the dirt. A low, raw anger flared inside Sam, something he hadn't felt since Claire's burial. He slid his arms beneath Emma's frail body. She weighed almost nothing, like sorrow wrapped in skin. You're safe now, he whispered. Though she couldn't hear him, he carried her toward his cabin. The dying sun, casting long shadows behind them, shadows that felt like pieces of a past he'd never truly escaped. Tonight, that past had come crawling back, and it carried a face he could never forget. Sam Redhawk pushed his cabin door open with his shoulder, careful not to jostle the unconscious woman in his arms. Warm lamplight spilled across the wooden floor, catching on bundles of sage hanging from the rafters and the slow curl of smoke from the dying fire. The place smelled of pine, resin, dust, and the quiet life of a man who expected no visitors. He laid Emma on his narrow cot, the only real bed in the cabin. The moment he stepped back, he felt the room shift, as though Claire's shadow had slipped through the doorway with them. Sam forced the thought away. He lit the lantern, stoked the fire until orange light pulsed across the walls, then filled a basin from the rain barrel. Kneeling beside the cot, he dipped a cloth into the cool water and began cleaning the wounds across Emma's face. He worked slowly, the way his mother taught him: start at the forehead, move down, never rush. A person in pain could sense impatience like a blade. Emma flinched at the cloth but didn't wake. Her wrists bore deep rope burns. Her ribs were a map of fresh purples and old yellows, pain layered on pain. A bootprint bruise marked her collarbone. Sam's jaw tightened. Whoever had done this hadn't meant to scare her. They meant to end her. He rolled back her torn sleeve to check for breaks. That's when he saw it: faint, half-healed, ugly. A crude circle split by a jagged line. Sam's stomach dropped. He knew that mark. Every decent person in the territory did. It belonged to Ambrose Rusk, a man who hid his cruelty behind fancy suits and charitable donations. A man who ran a boarding house in Drywood where girls went in hopeful and came out bruised, missing, or not at all. Sam touched the edge of the brand, barely brushing Emma's skin. So it's you, he whispered. You saw something you weren't meant to. He leaned back on his heels. 6 years ago Claire had died and Sam had been cast as the villain. He'd been accused of hurting the woman he loved, accused of things only men like Rusk were capable of. He'd been one heartbeat from the gallows. The memory scraped inside him like broken glass. He wrung out the cloth and continued. cleaning Emma's wounds, fighting the urge to punch the wall until his knuckles split. Hours passed. The fire crackled. The cabin breathed. Near midnight, Emma stirred. A tiny raspy sound escaped her, and Sam moved to her side. Her eyelids fluttered. Her fingers twitched. Then pale blue eyes blinked open eyes. He recognized too well. Those were Claire's eyes. But something else lived behind them. Something harder. Sharper. Emma sucked in a painful breath. Where? You're safe, Sam said softly. You're in my cabin. She winced, pushing herself upright, but pain forced her back down. Sam reached out to steady her, but she flinched. He slowly withdrew his hand. Emma blinked until his face came into focus. Confusion washed over her thin recognition. You're Sam Redhawk, she whispered. He froze. My sister wrote about you, she continued, voice trembling but certain. Claire said you listened more than you spoke. Said you could hear the wind breathe. Sam swallowed, unable to speak. She told me, Emma rasped, that if anything ever happened to her, I should find you. Sam sat heavily on the edge of the cot, breath unsteady. You didn't find me, he said quietly. Someone tried to make sure you didn't. Emma's eyes darkened with dread. I know, she whispered. I remember enough. And there it was, the moment Sam realized. The truth he'd been avoiding. Emma Harrow wasn't just a ghost of the woman he'd loved. She was the last, unfinished chapter of Claire's story. And someone had tried to bury her, too. Emma sat propped against the wall, her breath shaky but steadier than before. The lamplight painted soft gold across her bruises, turning every injury into a story Sam didn't yet know how to hear. He placed a tin of warm water beside her and sat on a wooden stool, elbows on his knees, careful not to crowd her. For a long moment, neither spoke. The only sound was the fire whispering through the logs and the distant cry of a night bird beyond the canyon. Then Emma said quietly, my sister, did she really love this place? Sam blinked. He hadn't expected that question. This valley? He asked. She nodded, fingers curled tight in the blanket. She loved the wind most of all, Sam said after a moment. Said it sounded like it was made of old memories. I never figured out what she meant. Emma smiled faintly, though pain tugged the corner of her mouth. Claire always found poetry in places no one else looked. Sam felt his chest tighten. She talked about you, he whispered. Emma's breath hitched. What did she say? Sam looked at the worn floorboards before lifting his eyes to hers. Said you were stronger than she ever was. Said you could carry storms without letting them drown you. Emma blinked rapidly, emotions flickering behind her gaze like firelight. I don't feel very strong right now. You're alive, Sam said. Sometimes that's the hardest thing. A silence settled deep, heavy, honest. Then Emma spoke again, voice low. They told me you killed her. Sam didn't flinch. He'd expected it. The lie had lived long enough to put down roots. Who told you? He asked. My father, she whispered. The sheriff, the undertaker, the preacher, everyone. Sam nodded slowly. That's how they wanted it. Emma's brows knit, fragile confusion giving way to something darker. Why blame you? He drew a long breath, studying the knife hanging by the hearth. Not because he needed it, but because the memory of what happened still cut just as sharp. They hated that Claire loved me, he said finally. Didn't matter that she chose me. Didn't matter that I'd give her the whole sky if she asked. Emma swallowed hard. They said she was violated. Sam's eyes closed for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice had gravel in it. She wasn't, but she was pregnant. Emma's breath stopped. She hadn't told me yet, Sam continued. I found out from the undertaker when he prepared her body. He said the town made him swear to keep quiet, to protect her good name. Emma's hand rose to her mouth, trembling. Oh God, they said I did it, Sam said, each word carved from old grief. Said I forced her. Said I drowned her in the river to hide my sin. Emma stared at him, horror and disbelief battling in her eyes. And you ran, she whispered. I didn't run, Sam replied softly. I left before they could kill me. Not because I was guilty, but because I knew they wouldn't stop at hanging me. They'd tear me apart to make a show of it. Emma pressed her palm against her brow. I don't know what to believe. Everything I thought I knew is cracking. You don't have to believe me, Sam said gently, but you can't lie to yourself about who might have wanted her gone. Emma's eyes narrowed, and for a moment, Sam saw the steel Claire had always spoken of. Rusk, Emma whispered. Sam nodded once. And the men who profit from him? Emma let out a trembling breath. He offered me a job after my parents died. Told me he was helping me. Told the town he was honoring Claire's memory. Sam scoffed softly. Snake, in a preacher's coat. Emma looked up, something fierce sparking in her bruised eyes. I think Claire was killed because she tried to save those girls. Sam met her gaze. And I think you survived because you're meant to finish what she couldn't. Emma's voice barely rose above a whisper. Then teach me. Sam, help me stand. He nodded. Tomorrow, he said. We start tomorrow. Dawn crept over the canyon like a slow exhale, washing pale gold across the stone walls and casting long shadows through the sparse juniper. Sam Redhawk stood outside his cabin, sharpening a small hunting knife, letting the sound of steel against stone clear the remnants of a restless night. Inside, Emma Harrow stirred beneath the blankets he'd tucked around her. She had slept in brief fits, always waking with her breath caught in her throat, as if the darkness still held hands with her nightmares. But this morning, she didn't cry out. She pushed herself upright, jaw set with an iron that surprised even Sam. He stepped back inside as she attempted to swing her legs over the cot. Pain drew a sharp hiss from her, but she didn't stop. "Easy," Sam murmured, handing her a tin cup filled with warm water. Emma took it, her fingers trembling just slightly. She drank slowly, letting the warmth ground her. When she finally lowered the cup, her eyes met his clearer than they had been the night before. "I remember something," she said quietly. Sam pulled over a stool. "Tell me." Emma set the cup aside. "The night before they took me, I saw a girl, younger than me, maybe 15. Her voice broke, and she pressed her fingertips to her forehead, drawing breath. "She came to the kitchen door at the boarding house. Her lip was split, her ankle swollen. She begged for help." Sam's shoulders stiffened. "And Rusk?" Emma nodded, gaze dark. "He dragged her upstairs, told me to forget what I saw. The next morning, she was gone. Everyone acted like she never existed." Sam swallowed, anger rolling through him in slow waves. "That's how he keeps control. Fair and vanishing," Emma continued, voice thin. "I tried to tell the sheriff, but he said Rusk was a pillar of the town, and I should be grateful for the roof he gave me." She shook her head. Every girl in that house lived under the weight of something unspoken. She looked away as though ashamed. Sam leaned forward. "He branded you," he said softly. "That mark on your arm, it's meant to silence you." Emma's hand instinctively covered the faded scar beneath her sleeve. "I knew he threatened girls. I didn't know he'd mark them." Sam's jaw tightened. "He marked Claire too." Emma froze. Sam continued, quieter now. "She hid it, told me it was a burn from the stove. I didn't believe her, but she wouldn't let me touch it. And a week later, she was gone." He inhaled, steady and sharp. "Now you carry the same mark." Emma bit her lip, tears welling. "He tried to make me disappear like the others. I woke once. I remember being carried. Someone whispered, 'I'm sorry.' Then darkness." Sam turned his head slightly. "Someone might have spared your life at the last moment." Emma's fingers tightened around the blanket. "Why? Why save me, but still leave me to die?" Sam shrugged slowly. "Fear changes a man's mind. Guilt too. Or maybe Claire changed it," Emma whispered. "Her memory, her letters, something." Sam didn't dismiss it. "Could be." Emma shifted, testing her ribs. "Sam, I want to stop him." "I know," Sam said, "but you're not ready to fight Rusk. Not yet." She met his gaze, fire rising. "Then get me ready." Sam studied her face. Claire's features cast in a harder mold. The same eyes, but with storms brewing behind them. "You ever used a knife?" he asked. "Not like you mean. That'll change." He reached behind him, grabbed a small sheath knife, and placed it in her hands. She held it awkwardly at first, but steady. "Keep it with you," he said. "If someone comes through that door, don't hesitate." Emma looked down at the blade, then at him. "You think they'll come for me?" Sam's eyes drifted toward the canyon. The wind was silent, too silent. "I think they already know you're not dead," he said, "and Rusk won't risk loose ends." Emma swallowed hard but didn't waver. Sam stood and pulled on his coat. "I'm riding out to gather clean water and herbs. You stay inside, knife on you at all times." "I will," she promised. As Sam stepped outside, the sun had barely risen. The air hung heavy, like the world was waiting. He didn't like it, but when he returned, an hour later, Emma was sitting up straight on the cot, knife in her lap, eyes clear, scars uncovered. She looked like someone preparing to rise from the ashes. And Sam, Red Hawk, knew then, this wasn't just Claire's sister anymore. This was the storm Claire had always believed would come. By midday, the desert light had turned sharp enough to cut, and the air shimmered with heat as though the horizon itself were burning. Sam Redwalk returned with a bundle of herbs slung over one shoulder and a bucket of cold creek water in his hand. As he approached the cabin, he slowed, listening. The wind had changed. It wasn't moving the way it should. He stepped inside quietly, but Emma already had the knife in her hand, her eyes snapping toward the door with a readiness he hadn't expected. Sam nodded approvingly. "Good. You're listening to the world, not your fear." Emma lowered the blade slightly, though her breathing was still shallow. "I thought you were someone else." "Who?" "I don't know," she whispered. "I just felt something." Sam set the bucket down. "So did I." He began crushing herbs in a small stone bowl, mixing them into a paste for her bruises. Emma watched him in silence for a moment, the warmth of the fire softening the harshness in her features. "Sam," she said, after a long pause, "what happens after this?" "Once we're ready, we find proof," Sam replied. "Evidence of what Rusk's done. Evidence strong enough that even a corrupt town can't bury it." Emma swallowed. "And then we take it where someone will listen." She looked down. "I've never had anyone listen before." Sam's hands stilled. "I'm listening now." Emma's eyes glistened, not with fear, but with something more fragile, something that hadn't lived in her for a long time. "Trust." She nodded and opened her mouth to speak, only to freeze at a sudden sound outside. Bootsteps. Heavy, slow, deliberate. Sam grabbed his rifle from behind the door, motioned for Emma to move behind the cot, and stepped silently toward the window. A lone figure stood near the juniper tree, hat pulled low, dust coating the long coat he wore. Sam recognized the silhouette immediately. Sheriff Alden Burroughs, a man who had smiled at Claire's funeral while tightening the noose of lies around Sam's neck. A man who pretended justice lived in his badge while selling pieces of it too. Rusk like cattle at auction. Sam opened the door but blocked the entrance with his body. Sheriff. Burroughs tipped his hat, revealing eyes as flat as worn coins. Sam Redhot, heard you were still hiding out here. Hiding implies, I'm afraid, Sam said. Burroughs smirked. Maybe you should be. Sam kept his voice calm. What brings you? Had a report someone saw a woman wandering injured near the canyon last night, Burroughs said. Wanted to check if you'd seen anything unusual. Sam didn't blink. Just coyotes. The sheriff's gaze slid past him, drifting toward the cabin's dark interior. Sam angled himself slightly, blocking the view. Burroughs chuckled under his breath. Funny thing, Sam, folks in town still think you're dangerous. Think you got wickedness in your blood. Wicked men say that about anyone who sees through them. Ah. Burroughs leaned closer. You know Rusk's missing one of his girls. He seems awful worried about her. Sam felt the tension coil in his muscles, but his expression didn't budge. Why tell me? Because worried men do reckless things, the sheriff said softly. And Rusk, well, he's got coin, influence. He paused. Friends, there was no mistaking the warning. Or the threat. Burroughs stepped back, placing his hat on his head. If you see that girl, he said, you tell me. Not that Rusk's missing property means much to you, I'm sure. Property. The word landed like a blow. Sam's jaw flexed. She's not property. The sheriff smiled thinly. Everything's property to someone. He turned and walked away, boots crunching through the gravel. Sam stood there until the figure disappeared between the junipers, swallowed by dusty sunlight. Inside the cabin, Emma emerged from behind the cot, face pale and eyes trembling. He knows, she whispered. Sam shut the door firmly. Not yet, but he suspects. What do we do? Sam checked the bolt on the door, then pulled the curtains closed. We get ready. Faster than planned, Emma gripped her knife tighter. For what? Sam met her gaze. For war. The rest of the day passed in uneasy quiet. The sheriff's visit hung in the air like smoke from an old fire, staining every breath with the threat of something coming. Emma sat in the corner of the cabin, polishing the small knife Sam had given her. Though her hands shook enough to betray the storm she was trying to suppress, Sam moved with steady purpose, checking the rifle, barring the windows, crushing herbs, packing supplies, but Emma could see the tension beneath his calm. He was thinking, planning, preparing for a man he once feared only for what he could take away. Now he feared Rusk for what he'd already taken. As the sun slipped behind the ridge, Emma finally spoke. Sam, tell me about Claire. Sam's hands paused over a bundle of sage. He didn't turn. What do you want to know? Anything, she whispered. Everything. He sat slowly on the chair across from her, as if the act itself carried weight. Claire was the kind of person who could walk into a room and change the air, he said. She'd smile, and suddenly everyone wanted to breathe deeper. Emma's smile trembled. Sounds like her. She used to braid wildflowers into her hair. Sam continued softly. Said the desert tried so hard to bloom, the least she could do was help. A small laugh escaped Emma, though it was tinged with sadness. She always said beauty was stubborn. Sam nodded. She loved strawberries but hated the seeds. Said it was unfair, that sweetness came with something that stuck in your teeth. Emma's eyes softened. She told me that when we were 12. Sam hesitated, then added, she wanted a small house. 3 rooms. A porch facing the sunset. His voice cracked slightly. She wanted a child who laughed like you do. Emma froze, eyes wide, breath held. Sam didn't look away. She carried that dream until the end. Emma swallowed hard, tears blurring her vision. I didn't know she was pregnant. I didn't know. I thought she left me. I thought she chose you over me. Sam leaned forward, voice low and rough. She never left you. She wrote you every week. Your father burned the letters. Emma's heart clenched. I wondered why they stopped. He didn't want you two talking, Sam said. Didn't want you asking questions. Claire was planning to take you away with her when the baby came. Emma pressed her hands over her mouth as a sob tore free. Quiet, trembling, full of years she'd spent believing lies that weren't hers. Sam stood and sat beside her, leaving enough distance for her to choose. She turned toward him without hesitation, burying her face in her hands. I would have gone with her, Emma whispered. I would have run anywhere, she asked. I know, Sam murmured. Emma lifted her head, jaw tight with grief and fire. Rusk took her life, and now he's taken mine. No, Sam said firmly. He tried, but you're still here. Emma looked at him, and something burning bright settled in her eyes, resolve, rising from the shattered pieces of her heart. We can't stay in the dark forever, she said. Not if we want to bring him down. That's why we're moving, Sam replied. She stiffened. Moving? Sam nodded toward his pack. This cabin won't be safe by tomorrow. Burroughs will return, and next time, he won't come alone. Emma gripped the knife. knuckles white. Where do we go? Away from the trail, into the old copper tunnels, Sam answered. Only a few folks remember they exist. We'll be hidden long enough to plan our next step. Emma stood slowly, swaying a bit but steadying herself. Then take me there. Sam studied, bruised, battered, trembling, but alive and refusing to bow. You're stronger than Claire ever knew, he said quietly. Emma breathed out, steady this time. No, I'm strong because she loved me, and because she believed in you. Sam looked away, throat tight. I hope I deserve that. Emma placed her hand lightly on his arm. You do? Outside, the wind shifted again this time, not with warning but with urgency. Night had arrived, and with it, the hunt. The moon rose like a pale coin over the desert as Sam and Emma slipped away from the cabin. They moved quietly, following a narrow path that wound between juniper shadows and slabs of sandstone glowing silver in the night. Sam walked ahead, his rifle slung over his back. Emma just behind him with the blanket still wrapped around her shoulders. She was weak, but she didn't complain. Not once. The night air was cool, carrying the faint scent of iron and sage. Somewhere in the distance, a coyote yipped one short cry. Then silence. Emma tightened her grip on the knife Sam had given her. Is it far? She asked softly. Not far, Sam answered. Just enough that anyone tracking us will give up before sunrise. Emma nodded, though she wasn't sure if she believed him. Her ribs throbbed, her legs ached, every breath stung where the bruises lived deepest. But she kept walking, because stopping meant being dragged back to Rusk or left for dead again. Neither option was acceptable. After nearly an hour, Sam stopped at the mouth of a dry ravine. Below them, half hidden among boulders, was a rusted metal grate set into the ground. The edges were swallowed by dirt and desert vines, as if time itself had been trying to bury the entrance. Emma frowned. This is it. Entrance to the old Laurel copper mine, Sam said. Closed 15 years ago. Only a few folks still remember. And you're one of them, Emma murmured. Sam nodded. Claire liked to explore. One year bounty hunter rains flooded the canyon. We hid down here until the water passed. A shadow crossed his eyes. She said the tunnels felt like the earth's heartbeat. Emma touched the cool metal of the grate. Did you love her then? Sam hesitated. I loved her before I even knew what loving meant. Emma nodded, not with jealousy, but with a grief she shared. Sam wedged his boot beneath the grate and heaved. With a groan, the metal lifted. Cold air wafted up from below, carrying the scent of damp stone and old stories. He lowered himself down the rusted ladder first, testing each rung. When he reached the bottom, he called up. Your turn. Go slow. Emma took a breath and climbed down, gripping the ladder tightly. The deeper she descended, the darker the world became, until only the faint glow of Sam's lantern lit the cavern floor. When her feet touched ground, he steadied her gently. The tunnel stretched out before them, a long ribcage of timber beams, stone walls shimmering faintly with traces of abandoned copper. Water dripped from somewhere unseen, tapping steadily like a heartbeat. Emma shivered. Feels like the earth is breathing. Sam gave a small, sad smile. She said the same thing. Emma looked up at him, expression softening. I'm glad you remember her like that. How else could I? He whispered. The tunnel widened ahead, opening into a small cavern. Sam set down the lantern and gestured around. We'll stay here, safer than any cabin. Emma lowered herself onto a flat stone, careful of her ribs. Do you think Burroughs will come for the cabin tonight? Yes, Sam answered honestly, but he'll find nothing but an empty bed. Emma exhaled slowly. Good. The quiet settled between them, deep and heavy. Then Emma said, Sam, earlier you said Claire was marked. Like me. He nodded. She swallowed. Did you ever see it? Once, Sam said. She came to my cabin, shaking, crying. Said Rusk cornered her when she went to ask about one of the missing girls. His jaw clenched. She wouldn't tell me everything. She didn't want me to get myself killed. Emma wrapped her arms around herself. She was protecting you, and I wasn't there to protect her. Sam murmured. Emma met his gaze. You loved her, but you didn't fail her. Rusk did. Sam didn't speak, but Emma saw the truth land in his eyes, slow, painful, begrudging. She touched his hand lightly. And now we finish what she started. He nodded once. Together, a sudden crack echoed down the tunnel, like a boot snapping a brittle branch somewhere outside. Emma stiffened. What was that? Sam lifted the lantern, eyes narrowing. Someone's here. Emma gripped her knife. Footsteps, slow, careful, growing closer. The chase had begun, but this time, Emma wasn't the one running alone. The footsteps were faint but unmistakable, slow, deliberate, echoing down the ribbed throat of the tunnel like a warning whispered through stone. Emma's breath caught. Sam lifted a hand, signaling her to stay still. His face sharpened into something fierce and focused. The way a wolf looks when it senses a trap closing. The lantern cast long, trembling shadows against the walls. For a moment, Emma swore she saw Claire's silhouette flickering beside Sam's tall, strong, fearless, a ghost carved from memory and fire. Sam drew his rifle with steady hands. Stay behind me, he whispered. Emma moved closer, knife gripped so tightly the handle bit into her palm. Her heartbeat was a drum against her ribs, painful fast. Alive. The footsteps grew louder, Someone was breathing down the tunnel. Not fast. Not panicked. Confident. Emma swallowed. Do you think it's Burrows? No, Sam said. Burrows walks heavier. This is someone lighter, younger. Emma's face drained of color. One of Rusk's men. Maybe. They waited, breath held, bodies tense. Then a figure appeared at the far end of the tunnel, a thin silhouette, dirty, hunched, moving with a limp. The lantern's glow reached far enough to show tangled hair, torn clothing, and bare feet scraped raw. The figure froze at the sight of Sam's rifle. Emma felt her stomach twist. Sam, she's just a girl. Sam lowered the rifle slightly. Who are you? He called gently. The girl flinched but didn't run. Her voice, when it came, was a brittle whisper. Is that Emma Harrow? Emma stepped forward before Sam could stop her. Yes, it's me. The girl sagged against the tunnel wall with a sob that sounded too old for her young body. I thought you were dead. Rusk said you were gone. Her voice cracked. They said he buried you with the others. Emma's blood turned cold. Others? The girl nodded desperately. The ones who tried to leave. The ones who fought back. Sam shot Emma a look that asked a dozen questions, but she couldn't speak. Emma moved closer to the girl. What's your name? Lena, the girl whispered. I was the kitchen hand. The one you tried to help. Emma's breath hitched. I remember you. You came to the back door. I tried to go after you, but he hit me. Lena said softly. Dragged me back. Said, if I ever spoke to you again, he'd take it out on you instead. Emma stepped forward with trembling hands. But Sam put an arm out, halting her. Not out of distrust, but caution. Lena, Sam said gently, did anyone follow you? The girl shook her head. No, I waited until they were asleep. Slipped out the window. I ran. I didn't know where to go. Only that Emma once said someone in the desert would help her. Someone named Red Hawk. Sam's eyes softened in a way Emma had never seen. You found me, he said. That took courage. Lena cried harder, quiet, broken tears. Emma wrapped her arms around the girl carefully, mindful of her bruises. Lena clung to her like a child clings to a memory of safety. It's okay, Emma whispered. You're safe now. We won't let him hurt you again. Sam watched them, jaw tight, eyes burning with an emotion Emma had seen in him only once before when he spoke about Claire. After a moment he said, we can't stay here. Not with Lena hurt and Rusk's men looking. Emma nodded. Then what do we do? Sam looked down the dark stretch of tunnel, then back at the two broken brave women before him. We go deeper, he said. There's a cavern at the far end, hidden from anyone who doesn't know these tunnels. We'll rest there until morning. Lena's eyes widened. Rusk, he won't stop. No, Sam agreed, but neither will we. Emma squeezed Lena's hand. We finish this. For all of us. Sam raised the lantern. The three of them stepped into the deeper dark toward danger, toward truth, toward the fight none of them could walk away from anymore. For the first time since Claire's death, Sam didn't feel alone. And for the first time in her life, Emma didn't feel powerless. Together. Their shadows moved as one, a storm gathering beneath the earth. The cavern opened like a secret mouth into the earth, cool air brushing their faces, carrying the scent of damp stone and something ancient. It was larger than Emma had expected. It was carved with streaks of mineral, glittering faintly like scattered stars. For a moment, the darkness felt protective, like the earth itself was shielding them from the chaos above. Sam set the lantern on a ledge, the soft glow casting long shadows. Rest here, he said. His voice was softer than usual, and even Emma, still tense from the tunnel, felt a strange comfort in it. Lena sank to the cold floor, tears streaking the dirt on her cheeks. Emma knelt beside her, wrapping a blanket around the girl's shivering shoulders. You're safe, she repeated. We won't let him touch you again, I promise. Lena hiccuped, burying her face into Emma's sleeve. I had thought I was alone forever. Her voice trembled. I thought no one cared. Emma's heart ached. I care, she said. I've always cared. And now, you have us. You're not alone anymore. Not ever. Sam moved to a narrow alcove and returned with a small bundle of supplies, dried fruit, water, and bandages. He handed them to Emma. She needs to eat, he said. His eyes, usually guarded, held a tenderness Emma had only glimpsed once before. As Lena nibbled at the fruit, Emma studied her. There was a resilience there, a tiny flame that refused to be snuffed out despite the cruelty she had endured. It reminded Emma of Claire, the same fierce courage, hidden beneath vulnerability. We can't stay long, Sam said suddenly, breaking the quiet. Rusk's men will start searching the tunnels soon. We need a plan. Emma nodded. We fight, but not blindly. We gather what we can hear and strike where it hurts him most. Sam's jaw tightened. And if we can't? Emma looked at him, eyes firm. We will. The night deepened around them. The cavern was silent, except for the occasional drip of water and Lena's soft breathing. Emma felt a weight settle on her chest. Not fear, but hope. They were together, and together they could endure anything. You know, Emma said softly, I never thought I'd see you again. She glanced at Sam. After Claire. Sam's hand twitched slightly. I know, me neither. He looked away, jaw tight, voice low. I thought we'd never. Emma reached out and touched his arm. We can't change the past, but we can honor it. By living, by fighting. by protecting those who can't protect themselves. He looked at her, really looked, and for the first time since Claire's death, she saw a flicker of the man. She remembered the man capable of tenderness, courage, and unwavering loyalty. Hours passed, filled with whispered plans and shared silences. Emma and Sam spoke little, letting Lena rest, but each glance, each small gesture, carried volumes of unspoken understanding. The bond between them, forged in loss and sharpened by survival, was stronger than any fear. When the first hint of dawn touched the cavern, a golden streak illuminating the damp walls, Emma stood and stretched. Lena followed, hesitant but steady. Sam crouched beside them. "The world above is waking," he said, "and so must we. Rusk won't wait, and neither can we. But remember, this we are not just surviving. We are fighting for something better, for hope, for freedom, for those who cannot fight anymore." Emma nodded, determination settling like armor around her heart. She reached for Lena's hand, squeezing it firmly. "Come on," she said. "It's time to step into the light." Together, as they climbed toward the cavern's exit, sunlight spilling over jagged stone and illuminating the desert beyond, Emma felt something she hadn't felt in a long time, a deep, unwavering belief that love, courage, and hope could outshine even the darkest shadow. And for the first time since the nightmare began, she allowed herself to believe not just in survival, but in a future filled with possibility, laughter, and warmth. Outside, the wind carried the promise of change, and Emma, Sam, and Lena walked forward side by side, toward the first chapter of a life they would reclaim. Together, the desert stretched before them, endless and golden under the morning sun, but it no longer felt like a threat. Instead, it carried a quiet promise, as if the earth itself recognized their courage and was giving them a chance to begin again. Emma inhaled deeply, savoring the warm air that smelled faintly of wildflowers and dust. For the first time in what felt like forever, her chest didn't ache with fear, it soared with hope. Lena ran a few steps ahead, laughing as her small boots kicked up clouds of sand. Her laughter, pure and untarnished, was a balm to Emma's soul. "I didn't think I'd ever laugh like this again," Lena said, turning to glance back at Emma and Sam, her eyes sparkling with the kind of joy only the truly free can feel. Emma smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You deserve it," she said softly, "all of it." Sam walked beside her, quiet, steady, a protective presence that felt less like a shield now and more like a promise. "We fought for this," he said. "Every step, every choice. It led us here." They walked in silence for a while, letting the sun warm their backs, each lost in thoughts of the past and the uncertain but hopeful future. Emma glanced at Sam. He was smiling faintly, and there was a softness in his eyes that hadn't been there for years. A flicker of Claire's memory still lingered. Yes, but now it was accompanied by a chance to heal, to live, to love again. As they reached a ridge overlooking a small, green valley, Emma felt tears sting her eyes. The valley seemed untouched by cruelty or sorrow, a sanctuary of life in the harsh desert. This is our chance," she whispered, almost to herself. "We can make something beautiful here. A life worth living." Lena ran ahead, spinning around and raising her arms. "It's perfect," she shouted, her voice carrying across the open air. "We can stay here forever." Emma laughed softly, a sound she hadn't realized she'd missed. Sam chuckled too, his usual stoicism breaking into genuine warmth. "Forever starts today," he said, and there was no doubt in his voice. They began to set up a small camp near a stream that glimmered in the sunlight. Water, food, and shelter, they were simple things, yet to them, they felt like treasures. As Emma helped Lena fill a small container with water, she noticed Sam watching her, his expression gentle. She smiled, and in that moment, they didn't need words. Their bond, strengthened by every trial and tear, spoke volumes. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Evening fell, painting the valley in shades of rose and gold. They sat around a small fire, Lena perched between Emma and Sam, her head resting on Emma's shoulder. "Thank you," Lena murmured, her voice thick with emotion, "for saving me, for staying with me." Emma kissed the top of her head. "No one ever gets left behind," she said firmly. "Not ever," Sam added quietly. "We're a family now. Not because we had to be, but because we chose to be." Lena smiled sleepily, her eyelids heavy. "Family," she whispered, as if tasting the word for the first time. Savoring it, night deepened, stars twinkling above like scattered diamonds. Emma gazed at them, heart full, soul at peace. They had faced darkness, cruelty, and loss, but they had also discovered resilience, courage, and an unbreakable bond that would carry them forward. Emma turned to Sam. "Do you ever think about Claire?" she asked softly. He nodded, eyes misty. "Every day, but I think she'd be proud of us. Proud that we didn't let grief destroy us, that we found a way to keep living." Emma squeezed his hand. "Then we live fully. For her, for us, for Lena, and for every moment of joy waiting ahead." As they sat together, wrapped in blankets and warmth, the firelight flickering across their faces, the world outside felt infinite and kind. And for the first time since the nightmare began, Emma knew, without a shadow of doubt, they had survived. And they had found not just freedom, but love, hope, and the unshakable certainty that happiness, once glimpsed, could be held forever. In that quiet, magical valley, 3 hearts beat as one, ready to embrace the life they had earned. The dawn had come not just on the horizon, but inside them all, and this time, it would never fade.